Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic Calling podcast. Ever since the start of this Israel-Palestine war, there's a question that has been bothering me for a long time. Why is it that Westerners or liberals in general have such a hard time condemning genocide?
Do you condemn the killing of those children by the IDF?
I think on October the 7th, October the 7th, October the 7th, October the 7th, October the 7th.
I mean, what is clearly genocide.
It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true.
And I thought to myself, and I realized that there is a very terrifying moral confusion that is taking place. As I was thinking this, I actually came across a video by popular atheist Alex O'Connor or Cosmicskeptic. In that video, he was basically debating Ben Shapiro. In this video, I'll be examining Alex O'Connor's morality, and this is a indicator of why people in the West or people in secular countries in general have such a hard time condemning things that are absolutely evil. So let's take a look and let's see what he says, and I'll make my response and show.
What for you makes an outcome good or bad? I don't quite know what good is, if it indeed exists. I'm quite suspicious of the concept. I think it might be another one of these unfortunately quite nihilistic evolutionary sort of illusions of a sort.
He says that he doesn't know what good is. He's suspicious of the concept. This is so bizarre. He can't even say what is good or what is bad, and he's literally admitting this. And he thinks that this is a delusion. This concept of good and evil is a delusion. Like, this is not like me strawmanning him. He's saying this himself. It's such a dangerous and absolutely destructive as well, because if you live in a society where people don't know what is actually good and what is actually evil, you can justify anything. And this is how people have been able to justify such atrocity. Things like the invasion of Afghanistan, things like, the invasion of Iraq, all these other things. Now, of course, I'm sure like Alex himself may or may not support these things. But the point is, he has such a confusing moral position where you can basically justify anything. We can use an analogy. You're an atheist, right? And you're a materialist. To you, nothing exists beyond materialism, right? Beyond things that are material or things that you cannot perceive with the five senses. Let's say that you have a cell phone like this one, right? Let's say that I take a hammer and I smash this cell phone. What am I doing exactly? What I'm doing is basically I'm seeing this collection of atoms and I'm destroying or changing this collection of atoms, right? Now imagine if I take that same hammer and I go to a human being and I smash the head of that human being or that person. What do you think is happening? See, according to atheist materialists, the same thing that happened here also happened there, because here I'm smashing a collection of atoms, but when it comes to human beings, I'm doing the same thing. So the question that I want to pose to people like Alex is this: what is the moral difference between me smashing this collection of atoms versus me smashing those collections of atoms, which is basically a human being? Because they're both, at the end of the day, they're both collections of atoms, right? So what's the moral difference? Why should there be a moral difference between these two things? Now, you may think that this question would be pretty easy to answer, but if you're an atheist materialist, strictly under materialism, there's no way you can justifiably say that there is a moral difference. That's what makes this so scary, because they genuinely cannot make a compelling case that there is a genuine difference between me smashing a phone versus me smashing the head of another person. Now, some may argue that, but clearly they're not the same thing, right? Clearly, when you're hurting a human being, they're screaming, they're feeling pain, but this phone is not feeling pain. To that, I can say that, yeah, but what is pain exactly? Is pain something physical? Is pain something you can measure, touch? No, it's a reaction. It's basically chemicals. It's chemicals firing. Why should a bunch of chemicals firing stop me from doing something I want to do? I mean, when I eat, chemical reaction happens, right? When I see, something really exciting, chemical reaction happens. So does it mean I should stop watching things that are exciting? No, of course not. Again, this falls into the Izzat fallacy, right? So then, there's literally no logical justification which you can use to say that, smashing someone's head in is wrong under atheism or under materialist atheism. And this is why Allah SWT says in Quran chapter 16:89, consider, O Prophet, the day we will call against every faith community a witness of their own, and we will call you to be witness against these people of yours. We have revealed to you the book as an explanation of all things, a guide, a mercy, and good news for those who fully submit. You can read about this in Quran 16:18. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us this guide, which is the Quran. But regardless, let's continue.
Now, there is a deep problem with this, and that is, if I meet a man who wants to kill me, or a friend, and he says that he doesn't believe in God, there's very little I can do to talk him out of that, except I can threaten him with legal sanction, I can threaten him with moral reproach, exclusion from the moral community, but there's not much more I can do. However, if a person says that he wants to kill me, and he believes that he wants to kill me because God has told him to do so, then I don't even have that minimal reproach available to me. Because there is no law written by any man of any time that could ever count one iota against the dictates of the creator of the universe. Therefore, if that God in fact does not exist, and if these moralities are in fact human inventions, then what you have in the grounding of an ethical system in the dictates, allegedly, of the creator of the universe is all of the arbitrariness and subjectivity and failure and faults of nihilism and human invented morality.
So basically he's arguing that if someone believes that his God commanded him to kill someone like Alex, then he has nothing that he can say or do which would convince this person to do otherwise, right? If you're talking about Islam, then that can't happen because under Islamic law, this is not allowed. For example, there's a hadith that is reported by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, where it says the following: the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Do not cause harm or return harm. Whoever harms others, Allah will harm him. Whoever is harsh with others, Allah will be harsh with him." You can read about this in Al-Sunan al-Kubra, Lil-Bayhaqi, 11,384. This is graded as Hassan by Sheikh Albani. It is a strong hadith, and this hadith plays a very major role in Islamic law or Islamic fiqh. It's one of the main major guiding principles. If you look at most of the fatwa side, they'll all agree on this point. Now, of course, the person may argue and say that, but you commit blasphemy and this and that. Even then, he will be in the wrong position. Why? Because there's another hadith where the Prophet clearly says that people cannot do vigilante justice or cannot take law into their own hands, right? This is a hadith you can find in Sahih Muslim. Muslims cannot take the law into their own hand. So again, I could simply quote this hadith and say, look, you cannot take this law upon your own hand, right? Muslims also cannot break a treaty. And there's no evidence the Prophet ever violated laws when he traveled to another country that there was a treaty with. Neither did the Prophet do this, or neither did the Salaf Salihin ever do this. So if a Khariji or like some kind of extremist want to justify this action of like harming a non-Muslim that lives in a country that has a treaty with like the Muslim country, then in that case that is completely impermissible. And if he wants to justify that, he has to bring evidence either from the Quran, Sunnah, or the way of the Salaf. And there is no evidence like that. And here's the interesting thing. So if the person is actually a Muslim, then yeah, you can argue against him. You can actually refute him and show him that no, your religion says that you cannot harm me. And yeah, that's that. However, here's the funny thing. If that person is an actual materialist atheist and he wants to kill Alex, there is absolutely nothing you can say to stop him.
That is some of the very specific legalistic commandments of the Old Testament, for example, or of the Hebrew Bible, I should say. These are not, when people list these and say that these are potentially morally problematic and may have done something towards hindering, for example, like I mentioned earlier, the abolition of slavery in the United States. Of course, there was a great deal of religious influence on both sides, which is something that I've already mentioned. But don't you think that this problem could have been solved a lot more easily if there had been a stronger religious tradition of opposition to the ownership of other human beings? Why can't that have been the case?
Okay,
because
so
Scripture quite explicitly condones it.
Right,
and in fact gives you the details of how to do
yes,
it.
So
that's something that couldn't have been done, in other words, because
you've
taken
now I
this,
get to do Talmudic law. So
this moral principle
the,
that's placed outside of meaningful debate.
Right.
Let's say I own this cell phone, right? Again, what is a cell phone? It's a collection of atoms, right? If I'm a materialist like you, then I own a collection of atoms like this one. Then what is the difference between me owning this collection of atoms versus a human being, which is another collection of atoms, right? So what's the difference? What's the moral difference, right? And this is where I go back to, because if you're a materialist, you genuinely cannot say in good faith that there is a moral difference or there is some kind of physical difference between these two things, because there isn't. At the end of the day, they're just atoms. They're different arrangements of atoms, but they're atoms nonetheless. So, as an atheist, he can never say that slavery is wrong in any way, shape, or form, especially as a materialist. In the next video clip, inshallah, I will react to a video Alex O'Connor made regarding GTA 6, which is basically a video game, and he tries to talk about the philosophy of violence in video games. Anyway, let's check it out.
The Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer just broke the record for the most views on a YouTube video in 24 hours. And why not? The anticipation has been building for over a decade, and obviously the USP of GTA is its unprecedented freedom. You can do, it boasts, just about anything you like. And sure, this includes playing tennis, or yoga, racing bicycles, or getting a cab to the local pier. But, of course, you can also fatally stab the taxi driver with a machete, steal his cab, run over some prostitutes with it, and then kill yourself with a sticky bomb. All of this is available to the player, but I want you to imagine that GTA 6 comes out, and they've introduced a new ability for the playable characters. Now, as well as running, jumping, punching, and shooting, you can also, by pressing a button, commit sexual violence against NPCs. What? That is, you can walk up to them, press a button, and your character will assault them. But what's changed? I mean, we still have all of those studies from earlier showing that in-game violence doesn't affect real-world violence. And we can still point out that the game doesn't encourage you to do this, it just gives you the freedom to. That is, we can put forward all of the same defenses that people propose for playing violent video games in general, and they would seem to apply here just as well.
However, there's a difference between when a religious person plays video games versus a non-religious or atheist plays a video game. Because when a religious person, or say a Muslim, is playing video games, he at least has a moral guidance to look to. Like, for example, when he's playing the game, and I don't know, like if he runs across like a character or something like that, he knows that that is wrong in the real life. He has that guidance, right? But if an atheist does that, he doesn't even have that. Like, again, like remember, when he's doing it in the computer or like in the TV screen on PlayStation 4, all he's doing is just, looking at a bunch of pixels. So it's just a bunch of pixels smashing against each other or something like that. Same way in the real world, when he's doing it, if he does it in real life, he's just a bunch of atoms getting destroyed. So again, like we're back to the same problem. There's no difference between these two things. From a completely materialistic point of view, there's no difference, because what Alex is demonstrating is his own moral view, but his moral view is demonstrative of a lot of other people's moral views, similar. And this is genuinely how a lot of like youngsters or Gen Zs think. A lot of them are doomers. They generally don't understand the difference between killing people in a violent video game versus killing people in real life. They genuinely don't know, because they haven't grown up in a household that fears God, that believes that God has commanded us to not do these things. They don't believe that. This challenge is actually upon atheists themselves. They need to figure out something. Either they have to let them be religious or something. And this is the reason why you see a lot of people blindly supporting the state of Israel in this conflict. Because they generally don't see any problem with Israel committing all these atrocities. They just don't see it. Because they're just morally confused, just like Alex. Again, I don't know his position in regards to this conflict, but this explains a lot. This type of atheist secular morality is destroying us. It's destroying the fabric of civilization. And as Muslims, we have to do something about it. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Inshallah, my next video, I probably won't do a video, but I might do a live stream with Brother Imanje. We'll be talking about this. Hopefully, we can do that. And so yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys soon, inshallah. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And click the bell icon, obviously. And if you want to support the channel, you can support me by becoming a patron or by becoming a YouTube member. And yeah, with this I want to end this video. Thank you guys for watching. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.